Welcome to the Practice X Factor, the place to be for mastering membership plans for your business. Here, you'll learn exactly how to grow your patient relationships and accelerate your profits without getting stuck on the dental insurance bandwagon.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Practice X Factor. Thanks for joining us on this week's episode. Excited to share some new content and some training that we've created with you that we're doing to help our team and some ways that you can implement that for your own team. So I want to start out with this story. You may have heard before. It's a really old story. Not sure who or where it originally came from, but I was listening to something recently that reminded me of this, and was talking about hunting for elephants versus chasing rabbits. And rabbits, they're much more abundant. They multiply quickly. They're everywhere, but they're a distraction, and they're very easy to get. Versus hunting an elephant takes a lot of time. And I'm not a big hunter, but I have a few family members who are big into hunting. And when they get into big game hunting, there's a lot of permits and research and time that's involved and things you have to do to prepare yourself to do that. You can't just show up and expect to find an elephant or whatever it is. And so this analogy is kind of in terms of the way I think of it relating to your practice is when you look at the long-term outlook of where you want to be in 3 years and next year, all the way up to 25, 30 years, that's more like hunting an elephant. And there's a lot of rabbits that you can chase that are distracting. Stephen Covey has this example in his books where he talks about the 4 quadrants. So we talk about this a lot with our team of those different quadrants and what they mean to different people. But you have the upper 2 boxes. One's urgent and important. One is non-urgent but important. That's box 2. And then the lower boxes are, both of them are not important, but one's urgent and not important. The other is not important, not urgent. So that not important, not urgent box, we think of as like, Netflix or social media or things that we might do to unwind, but not things we should be mixing with our workday. Whereas the non-important and urgent, those are things that appear to be important or appear to be urgent, but they're really just a distraction. So when you get, an alert for every email that comes in, I would suggest turning that off. I don't get email alerts. I have someone who handles most of my email. So reply to that person. But it's important to think about in terms of what is really mattering right now and who do you need to talk to. So like when you're with patients for the day, you're urgent, non-important. That's going to be like a salesperson who steps in trying to sell you supplies, right? Unless you have a pre-scheduled meeting, it's urgent because it has to be addressed right then. But it's important to train your team members that you're not to be disrupted during that time because you want to stay hyper-focused on what's most important. And you have to find when that hyper-focus time. For me, before I start patients for the day in the morning or right after we finish up with patients, those are good times for me to think about things because I still have energy, there's still daylight left, and I'm really tuned in to what's happening. So I can focus on things that are probably not urgent, but they're very important. This might be long-term strategic thinking or projects or working on the scorecard for your practice. And so I challenge you to spend some time and identify those 4 boxes and things that might be getting in your way and how you can hyper-focus on the things that matter more, or you can delegate the things that matter less, and then the things that really don't matter, you just have a system in place. So for us, that system is if someone wants an appointment, they send me an email, and that email goes to my assistant, and my assistant then finds some times on the calendar to schedule that person. So we don't take a lot of walk-in appointments, and that's because walk-in appointments are just a distraction, because when you start to see patients for the day, you really have a goal in mind of what you want to accomplish. And for purposes of this podcast, we're talking about creating members, how much more valuable they are than your average patient. And so you want to focus on getting members and growing the membership component of your practice. That's a hyper-focus activity. That's a non-urgent but very important activity. And so you've got to think about how to position yourself to be different than other offices, and even different than other membership plans, right? I see so many practices that just put these flat rate discounts on the membership, and it sounds a lot like insurance. And we've talked about this in some other episodes, but you don't want your membership to just sound like insurance to be really valuable to your patients. You want it to be simple enough that it's easy to understand. But if it's just kind of flat rate percentages and includes all the same thing insurance does, is you'll lose patients that will maybe get your membership for a year or two because they maybe changed jobs or retired or didn't have insurance, but then they go back to insurance. And that's when you know your membership wasn't powerful enough, or you really didn't spend enough time with your team developing a membership that is so unique that your patients renew year after year after year, right? And of course, everyone's circumstances change. We wish we were 100% retention on membership renewals, but we also don't set that as a goal because we know it's not realistic. But we send surveys to our patients, and we find about a 92% rating with patients and the membership plan and the feedback they give us. And so we take pride in those high ratings, and our membership renewal is very high. We have patients who have been on memberships plans for almost 10 years. I think we first introduced them about 10 or 11 years ago. So from that first membership plan, we have some of our best patients who just have renewed year after year after year. And it's really fun to meet with them because they're the easiest patients to deal with. They appreciate the time and what we've developed, but also they go into it with a partnership mindset, not with a you do everything for me mindset. I'm here, you fix my teeth. If something doesn't last or work, that's your problem, not mine. And there are, unfortunately, too many people who think that way, and it's a bad way of thinking, and it can be toxic in your practice. So think in terms of the level of service you want to offer and then match that accordingly. So if you are a high insurance office, your membership plan, you might price it more competitively with insurance if it's something you're going to offer as a replacement or a backup. For us, because we've moved completely out of dental insurance, we look at it in terms of how do we make this so much better than insurance for the right target audience? And so then we take that target audience and we reverse engineer the benefits. We don't just put something on a brochure that we print out really quick and say, this looks great, let's offer this to our patients. We instead find out what our best patients like and what they appreciate about us and what they've hated about the dentist in the past and what hassles they deal with insurance. And then we craft the membership based around that. So that's your assignment, to get together with your office manager or your marketing assistant this week and talk about how can you reverse engineer your membership to cater towards your best patients. That'll do two things. One, your renewal rate will be very high with your key patients. And the second thing is that it will gently repel people who are not on board with the kind of treatment you offer. And that's a good thing, because in today's competitive marketplace, I feel that the office that's trying to be everything to everybody is the hardest place to be, because you're competing with DSOs, you're competing with corporate, you're competing with multi-doctor practices, you're competing with older practices that might offer cheaper care because they've kind of paid everything off and they're just, the doc's getting ready to retire. So you have all these moving parts. But when you can build a membership that is unique and it's different than anything anyone offers, is you can move yourself to a category of one because you're providing a unique experience. And so when I go back to that initial story I mentioned of the rabbits versus elephants, right? If you're getting distracted by what everybody else is doing and trying to compete with insurance and corporate and DSOs, and then you're trying to be a comprehensive practice and you're trying to do the best level care, and that's a lot to do, and that really can make your head spin. I tried that for several years, and I would wonder why I was always stressed and tired and not happy and always trying to please everybody, and I would stay late for patients who weren't even keeping up their end of the deal. They weren't keeping up their maintenance or brushing their teeth or following up on their appointments. And I'm not saying everybody is perfect, nor should you expect patients to be, but if you have that level of care, then you should align it with the type of patients who appreciate that and they see it as a partnership. They're going to do some things on their own, that they've got to keep up with their visits and do some maintenance at home and take care of their medical problems too, because we know, untreated medical conditions lead to things like teeth grinding and those kind of things. And you've got to let your patients know up front that if they're not doing that, that can shorten the lifespan of the work that you're offering, or, void the warranty or whatever it is that you offer to your patients. So reverse engineer your membership plan. That is one of the best things we've ever done. Get some real data from your patients. SurveyMonkey is a great site we've used. There are others as well. Or you can just simply go off of what some of your best patients tell you that they hate or they love, or recommendations, because sometimes it's hard to hear that criticism, but they're actually trying to help you, because your patients and your team members have to buy into what you're doing every time they come. And I don't mean that you're selling them on things, but you are selling them on the culture of your practice and what you offer. And that's such a powerful and amazing thing we get to do with dentistry. And it's why you should be confident in what you offer and how really it's the best thing that anyone can have. I mean, what could be better than health, right? I mean, you've got time and health. Those are two things that can't be replaced. The more you can help your patients do that, the better. We were sharing this example with our team in the training, but sometimes team members get intimidated by the cost of dentistry. Might be in the thousands of dollars. But I just kind of used $1,500 as an amount and said, hey, for a lot of people, that's a large amount of money, right? I get excited when we bring $1,500 in for a treatment plan, and that's a lot for people to sacrifice. But you think about that, if you compare that to something like tires on the car, you can spend $1,500 really quick on a set of tires for your car, and 2 or 3 years, depending how much you drive, you're going to have to replace those tires. Not to mention all the taxes, insurance, gas, fuel, and then probably replacing that car at an even higher cost. So when you think about $1,500 you can put into a tooth and how that can last for years or decades or even life, dentistry is such an incredible value. And I'm so passionate about this for our profession that we need to be proud of what we do and confident and not fall into the trap, especially if you're trying to create a membership practice, of using insurance as the leading discussion in your treatment plans and your financial agreements. If you're a high PPO, heavy insurance volume office, then that might be your model and that's okay. But you can still script your verbiage and how you train your team not to lead with that, because there are now a lot of non-covered services you may offer as well. Or, you may have patients who would really love the opportunity to come in 3 or 4 times a year to have their teeth cleaned and fluoride put on. But if you lead the discussion with insurance, sometimes they can get the idea that you don't want to do those things. So hopefully these tips have been helpful, and I'd love to hear your wins and your feedback. That helps us for future episodes of the podcast. So thanks for listening to this episode, and we'll catch you on the next one.
For more tools and tips on how to create an X Factor membership practice, visit yourpracticegrowth.com and subscribe to our free weekly email today.